Welcome home, horror fans. My name's Adam.
And I'm Zoe, and today we'll be counting down the 10 most unbeatable saw traps.
The 10 traps in the franchise that you really do not want to find yourself in.
Yeah, these are the ones that are a little unfair, Jigsaw. What were you thinking?
Yes.
And some of them are to people that could be questionable.
Yes, there's always questionable things with Jigsaw.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair is a good question. Hard, definitely.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.
At number 10, we have the classroom trap from Saw 3.
So we're looking at this trap specifically as if it wasn't rigged, as if that door wasn't bolted shut as it was in the movie.
Yes.
This is a trap which is almost impossible, really.
Yeah, it is by far not a trap that you would want to be in.
That's right. You are chained up in multiple locations of your body, and you have to pull all of these chains off in time before the old bomb goes off. But the final chain is in a spot that's just really hard to take off.
The final chain, that is the bit that's probably leaning more on the impossible sort of realm. Without bleeding out anyway. I feel like you could probably survive having your jaw ripped off, but you would need to be rushed to hospital almost immediately.
That's right.
Immediately. But not only that, having to rip off through your Achilles and everything like that, it just seems like Jigsaw really hated this guy.
Yeah. He wasn't having a good time. You can watch him pull off these chains and it does not look like fun.
And the actor does an amazing job.
Yes.
Like, the scene is so hard to watch. I know that every time I sit through this scene with anyone who I'm showing Saw to, it's always that scene that like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
It's very hard to watch. Some of the chains are in an okay spot, but for the most part, your body is going to be in absolute pure pain.
That's right. And of course, that final chain through his mouth, technically he could have gotten off. There's a will, there's a way of ripping that thing off, but he would have lost half his face doing it.
His face. I can't imagine that anyone's out there willing to rush him to hospital instantly. There's probably no one for a good few miles.
Yeah.
Even if he does get out, he's bleeding to death.
That's right. Yeah. You do not want to be tasked with having to pull a giant hook out of your jaw, especially on such a short time.
Honestly, rather than trying to pull it like he did, you'd probably just run from the chain, run away and just let it pull.
Kind of like when you tie your tooth to a door and pull it out.
Back. Yeah, that seems like
trick.
the easiest way to do it.
Oh my God.
But either way, I'd probably rather die than not have a jaw, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you imagine just at the Survivor meeting, Troy's sitting there with no jaw?
Yeah.
Just gargling.
Although it would be cool to see it happen. I feel like in Saw 3 they were just like, it costs too much money.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Oh, look, this is certainly one that you do not want to be in. So easy to put on the list. And that brings us to number 9.
At number 9, we have the flammable jelly trap from Saw.
Right now, there's a slow-acting poison in your veins.
I hate this trap. I hate it.
The flammable jelly trap is not a trap that we get to see a lot of, but in this trap, he is tasked with something that's almost impossible.
Well, it is impossible. Tell me, no one can do this. And not only that, let's look at why he's there. Because he lied about being sick and he got some days off work. Who's done that before? I'm pretty sure everyone in the entire world. Let's forget about that. But he doesn't have a specific timer, but he does have a candle that is on the smaller side, and pretty much when that runs out, he's got no hope.
That's right. He's got a candle that he's only got so long of, and he needs to keep that alight so he can see in the dark and find the special combination, which is a million combinations throughout this room.
The whole world, the whole walls, every single wall in there is covered with numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that someone's pointed out that some of the numbers are a bit bigger, or maybe, I don't think they're a different color, but some of them are a little bit bigger. How the hell
you wouldn't know.
Are you going to decipher which ones are ever so slightly bigger while walking on glass, worried that this flame is going to catch on your skin? It seems insane.
You wouldn't know. So it's a very tough ask. And as soon as that candle obviously goes out, he goes up. Like a Christmas tree. He's covered in flammable jelly.
Yeah.
This is a really, really tough trap. And it's not, I think, one that almost anyone would want to be in. It's just a very tough one to survive, and also what a way to go, obviously burning alive.
Just having to walk on glass still sounds horrendous to me.
Just that one part of the trap.
Just that singular part of it. That
Yeah.
seems, no thank you. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's especially in the first Saw movie as well, with this very rudimentary traps in there. This one is definitely one of the worst ones that they put in the first film.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the toughest
For
ones
sure.
to beat, for sure.
Absolutely.
And moving on to number 8.
At number 8, we have the finger trap from Spiral.
Bite down on the device, which will start the motor that will rip your fingers away.
It's so hard for me to watch this trap. Every time I put it on and watch this trap, it's just so grotesque. He's stuck in a bathtub and his fingers are getting pulled by little chains and they're stripping them off. It's just disgusting. This is
I think
really hardcore.
Spiral did this one very, very well.
Yeah.
I think down to the lighting, to the the place, the setting that he's in, the location, and then down to his fingers being pulled away slowly. I think that the slowness of it makes it easier to picture and imagine what it would feel like, and I think that's horrific, horrendous. No one wants to be in that situation. But not only that, having the imminent threat of this bathtub filling with water enough that it is going to touch those copper wires and it is going to electrocute you. Unfortunately, this is what happens to the guy in the trap. Well, not unfortunately, I have a feeling he's actually a real asshole, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he just doesn't have enough time to do what is being asked of him to do. And if I was in that situation, I don't think I'd even try rip my fingers off, to be honest. I think no thank you.
Yeah, he has to bite down on this mechanism to have his own fingers pulled off. But the real crux of it is he's given so little time.
Yeah.
You watch this trap back and you can see, like, it happens so fast. It almost doesn't even seem like he's getting close to really finishing. There's no timer here. It just sort of happens as the water fills.
The way in which the fingers are being pulled is way too slow.
Very slow.
It needs to be done faster. And I know that it's done slow for that effect, for the grotesqueness of it all, for us to be like, oh, that's disgusting. But yeah, it's just too slow. It's never going to happen. Definitely not a situation I'd want to be in.
No, he basically couldn't have stopped for even a moment before this trap goes off. It was so fast the way the water filled and he was basically killed off. It was very, very quick. So this one was definitely one of the hardest ones because he literally could not have stopped for a moment if he wanted to pass this. And even then, it didn't look like he was going to make it in time.
No.
Crazy, crazy hard trap on this one. And there you go, Spiral trap for the Spiral fans
I
out
know.
there.
I can't believe that we finally found a list to consider anything from
Put some
Spiral on.
in there. There you go.
And at number 7, we have the needle pit trap from Saw 2.
It will be like finding a needle in a haystack.
Much like walking on glass, can you imagine swimming through a pit of needles?
Yeah, so very tough to beat. Having to jump into a pit of, let's say, 100,000 needles and dig through and find this one particular one that's got a key in it. First of all, no one wants to do that.
No.
No one, especially by choice. I mean, Amanda, who's in this pit, doesn't get a choice. But no one wants to do. Now, some people say they could have turned the light off and looked for the glowing key. Now, this is an interesting way of going about it. But even still, I'm not rummaging around in the dark in a pit full
I
of
think
needles.
turning the light off and looking for the key is something that I'd probably want to test before I'm thrown
See
in
if
the
you
pit.
can find it, yeah.
Yeah, because imagine having the light turned off and you're digging through and not being no, thank you. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't know if it's ever been discussed whether the needles are used either, and if they were used, why was it never brought up later that Amanda had any issues? Because you'd probably think that would be the case. But I'm just going to go ahead and assume that because Jigsaw put them in there, then they were definitely used needles. Don't want to be a part of it. I don't like needles as they are. I definitely don't want to be thrown into a pit of used needles.
No, and look, and as good as Amanda was at this trap, because she was pretty good, she actually found the key in pretty quick time. She still failed.
Yeah.
Still didn't pass the test.
But that wasn't her fault.
Not her fault.
That was
but
Xavier's fault.
Not her fault, but it was just a short amount of time to have to dig through these needles, find it, and get.
I
that
think
thing
that
unlocked. Very difficult.
it's sort of impossible to be able to find what you need to find.
A literal needle in a needle haystack.
A needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
A needle in a needle stack.
Yeah, and with that amount of time and still have to have it unlocked and all that, yeah, crazy hard. Like,
Yeah,
this
to
is-
me, that's
who's doing
pointless.
this?
To me, I would look at that, given the time that's there, and say, I'm not even trying that. We're going to have to find the antidote another way.
Yes.
what's the point in trying?
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, no one did it of their own choice.
And even if
that's
they
right.
are used needles, you're going to get extremely sick, and you're probably not finding that key in time before that door locks anyway. So what is the point?
That's right. And on that note, we're moving to number 6.
At number 6, we have the Pints of Sacrifice from Saw 5.
In order to open the door, the beaker must be filled to the marked level.
Now, we're getting to the really hard ones now as we're
Yeah.
moving down this list. Oh, Pints of Sacrifice. This is a gross. This is a gross trap.
It is. It's a gross trap. It's just a situation you would definitely not want to be in, or certainly not with 2 people rather than the 5 that they were supposed to end up in with.
Yes.
Pretty much in this trap, it has 5 slots with 5 circular saw blades. Each member must insert a body part, their hand, and drain, 2 pints each if there's 5 of them. There's only 2 of them, and they need to sacrifice 10 pints of blood.
This is hard because I can't even imagine these guys have to put whatever body part of their arm into a circular saw and bleed a certain amount. I can't imagine sticking any body part into a circular saw by choice, especially to the extent that they're doing it and having to bleed out as much as they are.
Like I said, I think the circumstances would be very different if 5 people ended up in that situation.
Of course, yeah.
definitely think that I could do it if it was only the 2 pints that they'd have to endure each. But 5 pints having to go as far as they go. You know, you've got them cutting their arm pretty much closer down to their elbow.
Yeah.
Not happening. No, thank you. I'm just going to die.
Yeah, and it's not only like something that you wouldn't want to have to do, but even just watching them do it, you're like, oh, every time.
Yeah.
Just watching them go through it is so hard.
Seeing the
alone.
aftermath at the end.
Oh,
it's just,
the way their like hands flopping around and stuff.
It's a big no thank you. It's a big, why would you do this, Jigsaw? Why?
Yeah. I mean, look, to their testament, they actually do survive the test.
Yeah.
But this is a horrible trap. So bad. Maybe, like you said, if they'd gone through with more people, but this is definitely one of the few ones I'd not want to be put into.
I'd probably just stick my hand in and pretend like I was being cut up,
Yes.
and just have it just before. Ah! Oh my god, it hurts so much.
Yeah, this is one that I've said before. If I was in it, like if me were you in it, I'd just like as soon as you put your arm, I'd just push you in further. Like, you're doing very well.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, just stay in there a bit longer. You've got this. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's the fake out. That's good, but,
sure.
but otherwise, no thanks. Moving on to number 5.
And number 5, we have the pound of flesh trap from Saw 6.
Today, you become the prey, and it is your own pound of flesh that I demand.
This is another trap that's really hard to watch.
It's hard to watch. It's so difficult because you're going to have to cut something off your body. Let's not consider that you could put a shoe in or you could put something else in. Let's consider that you're actually completing the trap. There is something that needs to go, whether it's your foot, whether it's a finger, whether it's a part of your skin. But not only that, you are competing with someone else across the room from you. So it really
right.
is about who can shed the most flesh.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, it wouldn't be me. It would not be me. I would not have the balls to hack my arm off the way she did.
Yep.
It just isn't happening.
That's right. You know, if we were in this trap, we'd be looking at each other, just slowly cutting off like bits of hair. Right?
Yeah.
Just slight little.
What happens
little
if they
things.
get the same weight?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. Do they both die? Do they both live? Because I'd be like, what are you at? And then I'd try and get to that point as well. And
Yeah, that's a good point. What if they just never had started and just left it both at 0? Do they both just die or
Well,
what?
I would assume that if they left it at 0, then they'd both die. But if they got it at a weight that was equal but higher than 0, I reckon that they both live.
Yeah, it's
You can't kill them both. They did what you asked.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really tough one. Could you imagine having to cut your own arm off or cut your own belly off?
I don't
to
even know
beat
what
this
I'd
trap?
go for first.
This is, look, I think obviously they have no time to think, so
Yeah.
they're just going to start cutting in. And, you know, look, the guy in this trap, he did well. He's losing weight quicker than eating Subway, so he's doing pretty good. You know, he kind of, if he'd survived, he would have like come out.
He'd come out a better man.
He'd become, yeah, that's right. You know, so look, you know, this could have worked out well for him.
It could have.
But unfortunately, the only good thing that came out was, of course, she did receive parking. Of course, come on.
You want to know the best thing that happened to me? Is handicap parking at the damn mall.
Handicap parking at the damn mall.
That's right.
So there is one good thing that came out of this trap. We love her. I'm glad that she got her free parking.
Yes. I also do love the aftermath of this trap. I forgot off too tangent, but when Hoffman does tell her, of course, when he meets her at the hospital. And,
And did you learn?
No, even better. It's like, did you cut your own arm off?
You didn't cut your own arm off?
Hoffman just like, what a killer.
And he wanted us to learn.
And did you?
Fuck am I supposed to learn from this?
Yeah.
But yeah, look, this as a trap. Don't put me in this trap. Thank you very much. I don't want to cut my arm off. I don't want to cut my belly off.
I don't want to cut anything
I don't
off.
want to cut anything off. It's really one of the most disgusting
Probably just start
traps.
cutting off my hair and
Yeah.
hope that the other person wouldn't want to cut anything off.
That's right. This is a hard one to beat. At the end of the day, I'm avoiding this trap wherever possible. Just gross. Just really gross.
No, thank you. Don't want to be a part of it. And that leaves us with number 4. At number 4, we have the wax trap from a spiral.
This trap is something that is basically just straight up unbeatable.
It's a lose-lose.
You can't win in this trap.
You don't do anything, you die. You do something,
You die.
you die. Yeah.
She is tasked with cutting her own spinal cord or getting a face full of hot wax. These
Yeah.
are our options. Oh, look, if you want to win this trap, just cut your own spinal cord. Yeah, that's fine.
It seems, first of all, I don't know. Well, how is Angie, who's the person who is in this trap, how does she know how far to cut so that she doesn't die and she only breaks her, severs her spinal cord? How does she know? She's not a doctor. She's not doing it to someone else. She has to do it to herself. To me, the only way to think to survive this trap would be to slam your head back. But then if you slam it too far, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So it's not possible. This is another one where it's like, I don't know if this is actually possible to do it.
This is just straight up unbeatable. Like I said, number of reasons why. Like, if she does do it for a start, how does the person running this trap even know that she's done it? Like, how do they stop the wax?
Yeah.
Like, if you were watching it manually, you still couldn't quite tell if she's done enough to do it. That's even tough. If you win, you're not walking out of there because your spinal cord doesn't work. So
Yeah.
you just, what? Oh, I won a trap. Great. Now I'm completely a paraplegic. And you probably just bleed out anyway.
Yeah.
There's no win here. This
No.
is literally just unbeatable.
Yeah.
And hence, of course, she doesn't really try. She just sits there and dies because she's got no other choice.
Yeah, there's nothing else for her to do.
Yeah, this is
It
just-
just doesn't make a lot of sense to
No.
me.
It seems like a probably not really well thought out trap.
I feel like the trap itself works because seeing it is truly disgusting, and it's like,
disgusting.
holy crap, like,
Yeah.
oh god, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. But the writing for this trap just isn't right because
No.
it doesn't seem like. Well, I guess maybe you could say that William was rigging the traps because even with the finger trap, like, he isn't given enough time to do it. But the trap in the start of this one, the subway trap, like, that seems like a fairly easy trap in comparison. You jump off a ladder, although it's horrible,
It's fairer.
it's fairer.
Yeah.
This one and the finger trap, you're just not given enough time. And with the wax trap specifically, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
That's
So,
right. Well, bear in mind that what she has to do to win is really considered not a winning scenario, but usually what happens to you when you lose a jigsaw trap.
Yeah.
Normally, if someone was to lose at a trap, you
It's
would
like,
have...
well, now your spinal cord gets severed.
Yeah, because this was literally given to another character, old Art, in Saw 4,
Yeah.
when he was to fail his trap.
As punishment, yeah,
it would be
for
a
failing.
pincer move that would specifically sever his spinal cord if he loses. Now, she has to do it to win.
Yeah.
So, is that really fair? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's literally a punishment for a different Saw trap in another movie, and now she has to do that to win. It makes no sense.
I think that, yeah, we've definitely stepped into the territory of traps that just are not fair. And it's the
Unbeatable.
same thing with the top 3 that we've got
Yeah,
coming
you
up.
think that's bad?
The rest of these ones, again, not fair, shouldn't be allowed, seems to go against what Jigsaw stands for, and that's
Yeah.
giving people a chance. And without further ado, let's go into our top 3. At number 3, we have the wire saw trap from Saw X.
Bringing in the old new Saw X movie.
Yes.
Welcoming into the fold. Here we are with Valentina's cut your leg off and suck out some juice trap. This is a trap that I don't want to be in.
Yeah. Like, let's look at it on paper. Okay, cut your leg off, stick this vacuum in your bone, suck out some bone marrow. Seems cool, right? But not only that, she's given...
Seems cool, right?
She's given 3 minutes? 3 minutes to do so?
Yeah.
Cut through the strongest bone in your body, with the thickest point in your leg, and then shove a vacuum in and suck out, was it 3 ounces or 2 ounces of bone marrow? I don't know. Seems impossible, right? Yeah, you would have thought so.
She does an amazing job.
She does.
There's not enough time for this. First of all, are you cutting your leg off for a start with that jigsaw? That's terrible. No one wants to do that. But then, no, that's not enough. In this scenario, Gordon just had to cut his foot off. She has to cut her leg off, and now she has to also vacuum out some juice.
Yeah.
No one's doing this in such a short amount of time. How is that fair in comparison to Dr. Gordon, who had to cut his foot off and was there forever? He was just had as much time as he wanted. She gets 3 minutes to do a hell of a lot more. And it was just clearly unfair. This is an unbeatable trap. No one's pulling that off in this time. I did have read one great comment on a different video who did say she should have cut her leg off,
and then
caught
her leg,
and then vacuumed out the juice from that leg that was cut off. And I would have loved to have seen that. That would have been a great idea.
It would have been very funny to watch it unfold on screen, because
really
she's in so much pain that her leg's about to fall off, and then she's looking and her leg's about to drop and she catches it and yoinks it back up. I don't see that happening, but it would have been really funny.
If it had happened, you would have been like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's holding it there, just vacuuming out, and you're like, that's cool. That's cool.
That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, Valentina, she, as much as she tried, she didn't make it, and she did lose her head.
Of course. And also, if I was in there, I would not have done better than she did. I can tell you right now. Her performance in this was better than I think anyone else was going to do, and still, unfortunately, not enough to make it through.
And then you've got Cecilia in the background there. Just do it! Just do it! Okay, Cecilia, you just had to stand in a gas room. You got it easy.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, her shouts of enthusiasm, her cheerleading from the sides is actually quite helpful. If I was doing any trap, I'd like Cecilia just being in the corner, be like, just do it.
Yeah, they'd definitely get me perky.
Yeah, exactly.
Ready to cut my leg off.
Yeah, 100%.
What a scene.
100%.
What a scene.
And that leaves us with the
top two
hardest couple of traps left in this list. So we're getting to the very nitty gritty. And if you thought the last couple were hard, these last two...
I don't know if number 2 is just us, but number 2 is the Venus flytrap from Saw 2.
Talk about impossible. Who is digging into their own eyeball to get a key?
Cindy pulls it off in Scary Movie 4. She does.
Well, of course, Scary Movie 4. I mean, look, yes, that makes sense,
But when he lifts that scalpel and puts it towards his eye, there is no way that there is a single person out there that didn't go, it is
Make
horrific.
that noise again. Go on.
It's horrific. You do not want to be in that situation. It's not going to happen. At this point, knowing that I've got this thing on my head that's going to clamp shut, I would wait the timer out.
Yeah.
There's nothing. No, I can't do that. I can't put a scalpel near my eyeball. It's just not happening.
No. First of all, he was given no time. Time-wise, not enough time. But also, I don't care what you tell me the alternative is. I'm not shoving a scalpel in my eyeball.
Yeah.
This is not there aren't many things you could say to somebody to do that are worse than shove this scalpel in your eye.
Yeah, no.
It's not.
No.
Who's pulling this off? This is a trap which... not just unfair, but I mean, come on.
At this point, you'd be better off stabbing yourself in the eye and then pulling your eye back out, because there's nothing you can't. What are you going to do? Dig around your eyeball? That sounds worse to me.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Could you imagine just someone literally just stick it in like a fork in a steak and just pulling out their eye?
Yeah, oh my God, just the thought of it. And I'm someone who doesn't the eyeball trap in Saw 10. It was a different ball game. But it was a different eyeball game. But this, having that scalpel so close to his eye and being like, oh my God, you were just waiting for it to happen and you were on edge the whole time. Yeah. And no, thank you. Wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be me.
No one's pulling this off.
No.
No way.
No.
So I guess that leaves us with the top pick. And I'm sure you're all scratching your head wondering, what could be number 1? What surely would be the hardest trap.
And Mateo was sure scratching his head in this one. At number 1, we have the brain surgery trap in Saw X.
Hello, Mateo. It's time to play a game.
The ultimate brain scratcher. You are tasked.
It really wasn't a hard pick.
No, I mean, this is a trap where you're tasked to literally cut open your own brain, pull pieces of it out. I mean, I don't know who thought of this trap, but the idea of having to cut your head open and pull bits of your own brain out.
All without anesthesia.
Yeah. It's in such a short time as well.
Yeah, 3 minutes. He's given no longer than what Valentina is given for her trap as well. But this is honestly bordering, like, if you hadn't have seen this in the trailer, because this was a big one that was utilized in the trailer, seeing, you would have been like, what the hell, seeing this on screen? You'd be like, who thought of this? This is insane. Like, it's just...
I would have loved to experience this in the cinema, like without knowing. Going in, dark and hearing what he had to do, you just like, what did they say? Did I hear that right? You want him to pull his brains out.
Can you imagine how shocked people would be in the cinema? Like, I think that this would be sick-inducing for a lot of people. Like, no, I think that Saw needs to go back and take that out of the trailer. Like, if we could go back in time and remove that scene, because this would have been jaw-dropping.
Yeah, it's brain-dropping. He's tasked with something that's just crazy hard. And it's a lose-lose. Like, even if somehow you pull this off, which I don't see anyone pulling it off, but even if you did, you're walking out there with less of a brain in your head.
Yeah. And John's going on about, like, people being able to adapt with shut up, John. Shut up.
This is unfortunately something where even if you survive, you're probably... You're not even the same person, are you, at this point, you know? He's walking around there with half a brain. This is horrible. It's such a bad trap. And out of all the other ones we listed, breaking the spinal cord and all this stuff, like just cutting your head open and digging in for your own
Look,
brains.
I could probably do it if they'd already done the surgery for me.
The
like
surgery
my
part
brain,
is the hardest part.
Like if my brain was just there and ready to go, okay, yeah, I'll dig in with my hands. I don't even need scalpels. Or whatever
I think that might be a
have.
problem with some
yeah, but
antibacterial situation with your hands just going into your head.
Actually cutting open. Like, we saw the scene in Saw 3 where Lynn Denlin cuts open his head, cuts open his brain. And that's a long, drawn-out scene. And then this one, Mateo's just like, just like does the whole thing in like 3 minutes and rips out his brain. It's not possible. It's
not possible.
Physically not possible. And it really does diminish anything that we saw in Saw 3, because it does take Lynn a long time to do it. Yeah. Mateo's just like, oh, give me 2 minutes. I got this.
This is an amazing trap. That's one of those traps where it just like cut your head open, take your brains out, or some of these really simple traps where you just have to sit still and not say anything. Yeah. It's such one of these traps where there's just the trap levels are so out of whack. But as a trap, it's certainly the trap you do not want to be put into.
Yeah. And I think that with you saying the trap levels are out of whack, I definitely agree. And I think that the trap levels being out of whack work if you're putting the worst people possible in this. Yeah. Like Cecilia should have been in the brain surgery trap.
A lot of people will agree with that.
And Valentina, it just seems crazy to me.
That's true. Without getting into too much about how much these people deserve these traps, because it doesn't seem to line up with the how much you deserve it versus how hard the trap was. Look, this is, for us, an easy pick. Number 1, the trap you don't want to be in is the one where you got to pull your own brains out. Yeah. And this was a bit of an interesting list to put together because they were all very hard traps. Yeah. And of course, again, if we've missed anything, definitely put it down in the comments below. We love hearing about all of the reasons why you hated our top 10 lists. So definitely tell us about what we missed out on. The trap of all the entire franchise, of course. That's what we really want to hear from you guys. What is the one trap out of every trap in the whole franchise that you would not want to be in? Want to find yourself in? The one you want to wake up and just out of all the traps, this was not the one that I wanted. This is the one I just couldn't do. We'd love to hear from you guys. Otherwise, if you like the video, please hit like. And thanks for watching as always. We'll see you in the next one.
See you next time, guys.
Game over.